Identifying whether or not your gallbladder is what is causing you health problems today can be a little bit frustrating because the signs and symptoms are all over the place. So that's why in this video, we're going to look at the 10 warning signs that your gallbladder's in danger, look at the natural steps you can take in order to solve this issue, and then, of course, look at whether or not you need to go get surgery or you can solve this issue today right in your home. So let's go ahead and dive in. But before we do, I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski. It's a pleasure to be hanging out with you guys today. Now, I have a natural health community. It's called Health Club. In Health Club, I teach you how to stay on the razor's edge of natural health. I give you the cutting edge tips and tactics that I use in my clinic every day in order to keep you healthy and keep you on that journey to longevity and anti-aging and all the things you want to have in order to stay healthy and avoid disease. So if you want to join me in my health community, go ahead and click on the link in the description below. It's called Health Club, and I really look forward to seeing you there. So you came here to talk about your gallbladder. And the thing is about gallbladders is that they can be very frustrating. You know, when you look at your gallbladder as to what it is, it's this little pear-shaped organ that is right under the liver, and the whole purpose of it is to help you digest your fat. It has a fluid in it, and it squeezes it out whenever you consume fatty foods and helps you digest your meals. Now, when it starts to misfire, it causes a lot of problems. The frustrating part about this is that this issue with a gallbladder can be confused for many other problems. You know, do you have an ulcer? Do you have just general indigestion? Do you have some sort of bacterial overgrowth in your stomach, right? It can be very confusing, but I'm going to give you a sure way to identify whether or not it's your gallbladder. So the first thing you're going to look for is if you're getting some pain and discomfort in the upper right abdomen. You'll also typically feel like a sense of fullness. So if you eat a meal, let's say a fatty meal, and you get this pain there, you get this sense of fullness, or you get some lower rib pain, then there's a good chance that you are looking at a gallbladder issue. The other pain that you can have typically that you'll find physically is going to be right in the upper right shoulder blade. So this is another thing to look out for. And you're going to notice that this flares up after eating a fatty meal. And if it's in question, one of the things you could do is you could take something very fatty, like a scoop of peanut butter or something along those lines, and eat that and then see if it causes this flare up. You're getting this like really high concentration of fat that's a little bit harder to digest. This would be a good sign as to whether or not you have a gallbladder issue if a flare up happens after. The next thing you'll probably notice is some nausea, sometimes associated with vomiting after a greasy or heavy meal. And a lot of times you're going to find that this nausea is combined with a lot of bloating. It can be combined with burping and a lot of indigestion. So indigestion and bloating are big signs of a gallbladder issue as well. And so if you're noticing that you're getting this acid reflux, this increased gas, and all of these problems from eating a meal, then you're going to want to look at whether or not this is a gallbladder issue. And as I said, it can be frustrating because these signs and symptoms line up with a lot of other problems. But really look for that pain in the upper right quadrant and for these signs that are directly associated with gallbladder problems. Now, these are typically the first signs to show up, okay? These indigestion, the bloating, the unable to digest things, the pains. But what can show up a little bit further down the road if this problem really progresses is going to be yellowing skin and eyes, so you start to get a little bit jaundice. Typically, you'll notice you'll have very dark urine and even some pale stool. You'll also potentially get fever and chills. And if this is happening, this is a sign of infection. You really got to act on this, okay? So some of these initial signs that I talked about with the gas and the bloating and all of these problems, you know, these are signs that, hey, you have a problem and you should start working towards fixing it. You can probably overcome this. Now, when you start getting into the yellowing of the skin, the jaundice, and the fever and chills, this is go to the doctor and make sure that you are taking the necessary steps in order to solve this problem in whatever means is necessary, just because this can be dangerous. This can go too far and become dangerous. So you got to be careful for that. So let's talk about how to solve some of these issues. We talked about the signs, the danger, the warning that you need to make sure that you're taking the necessary steps in order to solve gallbladder issues, but what should you avoid from a food perspective? Pretty interesting. So fried and greasy foods is going to be quite an obvious one. It's not that we want to avoid fats altogether. It's just we want to avoid those bad fats, those ones that aren't healthy for us anyway, and those ones that are in high doses. So fried and greasy foods. Refined carbohydrates, you're looking at your bread, your pasta, your sugary foods. We want to start avoiding these as well because these aren't going to help matters. Any type of dairy in excess, I would avoid during this time, because this is probably going to impact the inflammatory component slash just irritation of the gallbladder. And then also carbonated drinks will typically cause some problems for you too. If you're drinking carbonated drinks with a gallbladder issue, it's been also correlated with some irritation. So we talked about the signs and symptoms, some of the worst foods for it. Now, what can you do to solve this problem? And this is what's most important. How do you solve this gallbladder problem? So the first thing that you can do from the perspective of natural remedy is utilize apple cider vinegar and lemon water. I would drink this on an empty stomach before a meal, and this should really help with your digestion. And this is also going to help with bile production. It's going to help get rid of stones, and it's going to put you on the right path. So typically about a tablespoon or two, 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with a half a lemon squeezed into water. Drink that before a meal. It'll offer a lot of relief. Now, the next thing you're going to be looking at is some tea. Okay, you can utilize dandelion tea because this has been shown to help with bile flow and detoxification. And if you drink, 1 to 2 cups of that a day, that is going to certainly help. You could also look at milk thistle. You can use this in the form of supplementation. You can get a tea with milk thistle, really however you choose to utilize it. However, it's going to help with that bile production and the liver function, and just really help keep things moving down there. Because one of the things you're going to realize through this conversation, a main goal is really just keep that bile flowing and keep things moving so that the fluid doesn't become stagnant and then just cause further issues. Now, whenever we look at, dandelion or milk thistle, one of the things you might want to consider is taking this in more of a supplement form in order to get a higher dose. I'm all for using the tea, and if that's what you want to do, by all means do it. However, I am telling you that just from a clinical perspective, typically whenever you're facing a real issue with these types of problems, you're going to actually want to move towards a higher dose, which would typically involve a supplement. So I'll put a link to a good liver support that we utilize that has the milk thistle in it. And you're going to realize that pretty much anything that supports liver health is going to support gallbladder health. So that's why a good liver support is going to be beneficial in order to help with your gallbladder problems. Magnesium and vitamin C are also very helpful during this time. The magnesium can help relax the gallbladder because the gallbladder can basically get in a state of spasm along with a lot of inflammation. And so the magnesium is going to help with the relaxation in the movement of the bile. And the vitamin C is going to help convert the cholesterol to the bile acids, reducing the chance of the gallstone formation. And this is one of the reasons that is helpful. We could look to peppermint tea. Okay, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but I'm giving you options here because I know that if I had a gallbladder problem, I'd just be doing everything, trying to solve it so that I could maintain my gallbladder and not have to get it surgically removed. This is where, it's like in natural health, when you have the opportunity to solve the problem, throw everything you got at it in order to solve it. Peppermint tea, though, is also very helpful. It'll help relieve gallbladder spasms and discomfort. Same thing with any of these teas, about 1 to 2 cups daily. So, I know that I'm mentioning multiple teas here if you're really going to get into the world of tea. So, it sounds like, well, I'm going to be drinking tea all day. But if you had a cup of each, or you figure out which one helps you the most, then drink that one. That's ideal. Combine it with some of the supplementation. Now, utilizing healthy fats is going to be beneficial during this time. And though it sounds a little bit counterintuitive because I said, well, fats will cause flare-ups, but eating good healthy fats like olive oil or avocados, it's going to help keep the bile moving and also prevent that buildup of sludge in there. So if we avoid those, fried foods and the unhealthy fats and stick to the good healthy fats like olive oil, which is anti-inflammatory and has so many benefits to it, then you're going to actually be better for it. Another thing that I would highly suggest is utilizing digestive enzymes and ox bile during this time. If you use some of these different bile salts, essentially they're going to help break down the stones. They are going to help keep the bile moving. They are going to help with your general digestion, okay? And this is where the digestive enzymes is helpful too, because typically whenever you have these gallbladder issues, you lack enzymes, your whole digestion just is extraordinarily dysfunctional. And this is why when someone has a gallbladder issue, you're looking at symptoms of indigestion and so many other problems associated with a lot of pain and discomfort, nausea and vomiting. It's just not a good situation, you know? So utilizing everything you can in order to solve this problem and supporting your digestion in every way is ideal. And as I mentioned before, I'll put lots of resources, but there's a product I use clinically called Complete Digestion. It's got the enzymes, it's got the bile salts, it's got some HCl in it, which is all going to help with your general digestion and gallbladder health. And I'll put a resource to that in the description below as well. Now let's look at some just lifestyle tips that you can utilize in order to help in every way with your gallbladder problem. First of all, instead of eating big meals, eat small meals and eat more frequently, because the bigger meals are going to be more taxing on the gallbladder and be more likely to cause gallbladder issues. The other thing is stay hydrated. Make sure you're drinking lots of water. You're trying to flush a lot of this stuff out of your system, and drinking plenty of water helps. Exercise regularly, because this is going to help keep your metabolism, your digestion healthy. And then the next big tip is make sure you're maintaining a good healthy weight, because this is of course going to help with this issue and so many other metabolic issues as well. So this was a lot that I threw at you today, but these are the tips, the tricks, the tools that you can start utilizing today in order to solve your gallbladder issue. I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope this was a great resource to you. If you know somebody suffering from this type of issue, make sure you're sending this video to them so that they can save their gallbladder and not have to get it removed, because your gallbladder is a very important organ that your body does need. Can you function without it? Yes. Can you function optimally without it? Probably not. It typically leads to a lot of deficiencies. It typically leads to a lot of digestive issues down the road. So that's why when you look at, well, is just pulling your gallbladder out and moving on with life the solution? Sometimes it can be. If the problem's gotten really bad, you should talk to your doctor about that. But if you can save your gallbladder, by all means, I would do so. Typically, when you go to a very traditional doctor, they want to just pull the gallbladder out because they just look at it as, well, why would you even deal with this? It's not even necessary to have it. What they don't typically tell you is after that surgery, there's about 40% of people who suffer with digestive issues for the rest of their life. And that's not mentioning all the ones who are suffering from nutritional deficiencies and other problems just because you're not breaking down your food quite as good as you would if you had a gallbladder. So save that gallbladder if you can. It's a pleasure hanging with you. If you like this video, I think you'll like this one over here next.